Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I am here today with Nicole Kalil. Nicole's passion for eliminating gender expectations and redefining women's work is both what keeps her up at night and what gets her up in the morning. Well, that and an abundant amount of coffee. An in-demand speaker, author of Validation is for Perking, leadership strategist, respected coach, and host of the This is Woman's Work podcast. Her stalker-like obsession with confidence sets her apart from the constant stream of experts telling us to be confident. She actually shares how you build it and gives actionable tools that you can implement immediately. A fugitive of the C-suite at a Fortune 100 company, Nicole has coached hundreds of women in business, which has given her insight as to what structurally, systematically, and socially is and isn't serving both women and leaders within an organization, maintaining some semblance of sanity in her different roles of wife, mother, and business owner successfully is an ongoing challenge. Amen to that. In whatever free time she has, she enjoys reading and wine guzzling. That alone is worth this price of admission. And she is an avid cheese enthusiast, a hotel snob, and a reluctant Peloton rider. So, I taught spinning for like 13 years, and I just really like to get up and move. But I will ride a bike now and then. Today, we had some mind-blowing information, how one of the things was that confidence has nothing to do with the way you look. So Nicole was dispelling some myths, nothing to do with working out and eating your greens. She talks about the confidence con, what confidence actually is and what it isn't. She identifies the biggest confidence derailers, things that chip away at our confidence and damage our confidence. And then she gave us 5 of the biggest confidence builders, how to actually build our confidence, and the actionable steps that we can take. And she gave us the definition of what confidence is. And also we talked about, her new book, which is Validation is for Perking, and why, where validation needs to come from. And it does feel good when we get validated. This was a great conversation. We talked about comparison, how we compare ourselves, and so much more. I think you guys will really enjoy this. This is one of my favorite episodes, I think, that I've done on building your confidence. So without further ado, let's dive into this episode with the one, the only, Nicole Kalil. I'm excited to welcome Nicole Kalil to the Sisterhood of Sweat today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Linda. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics today, how to build confidence. Why are you the woman to talk about this topic?
Yeah, I think, like so many of us, our purpose and our passion stems from our pain. And so there are a lot of people who are talking about confidence. I think what separates me is I'm focusing on it very specifically for women and talking about what's derailing or chipping away or doing damage to our confidence, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Really focusing in on builders that, 92% of business books are written by men. So we're learning so much about how to be in business or how to be confident from the lens of the masculine. And I'm not saying that's bad or wrong. I just want to make sure we're also hearing about it from the lens of the feminine. And because I really focus on the how-to aspects of it. We get inundated with messages to be confident. We're getting bombarded with mixed messages about what confidence is and what it isn't. And very rarely do people go into tactical how-to steps that we can implement immediately in our lives that actually will build confidence. So I think those are a few distinctions. I'm certainly not the only person talking about confidence. And there are a lot of other people you should be listening to. I just hope that those differentiators will reach the right people.
So why is confidence not based on the way we look?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to geek out on you for a second and go to the etymology of the word confidence. If we look at the root of the word confidence, what it means is trust, firm, bold trust. So when we talk about being confident, what we're talking about is trusting ourselves firmly and boldly. Now, listen, it is not shocking, especially as women, that we think our confidence is tied to how we look or how other people perceive us, or whether or not we get compliments or validation or any of those things, because it's so reinforced as we grow up. It's reinforced in media, on social media. But the reality is, I can't figure out how we look, how it would impact the trust we have in ourselves. And so if we think about confidence as trust, almost think about the words as being interchangeable. If what you're doing or how you look or the choices you make impact you trusting yourself, increase the trust in what that you have in yourself, then we're talking about confidence building. But I think we've sort of thrown the word confidence out so much that we become confused about its meaning. We think confidence is when we feel good or when we feel attractive. And so, when we get dressed to the nines, or when we lose weight, or when we often say we feel confident. And what we really mean is we feel attractive, or we feel like we look good, or we're proud of ourselves. And all of those things are great things. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel attractive or feeling attractive. I just want to make sure that we don't use the word confidence unless it's actually in firm, bold trust in ourselves.
I love that. And I know the listeners, my protein shake, I apologize. It's clumpy. It's not smooth. Oh my God.
I get that.
It was unexpected. I just threw it in and shook it up, but I must not have shook it up enough. Oh my. All right. So don't you hate that when you get a protein shake and it doesn't mix well?
It's the worst.
Okay. Luckily, I have something else to drink here. But what you were saying, I'm sure perked up so many of our listeners' ears. Isn't it good news that you could roll out of bed in your PJs and be confident? You don't have to have a ton of makeup on, your hair fixed. You don't have to be perfect to have confidence. This is the story nobody else is telling. So I love this conversation. Tell me what confidence actually is and what it is not.
Yeah. So confidence is actually trust, firm, bold trust in self. If you look at the root of the word, but if you also look at how the word is used, even something as silly as like a con artist or a con game, what we're talking about is a confidence game or a confidence artist in which somebody tricks you into trusting them. It all goes back to trust. So that's what it is. I have a working definition of confidence is when you know who you are, own who you're not, and you choose to embrace all of it. Like you embrace all of yourself. That to me is what trust feels like in a day-to-day operation. But if that's too complicated, go back to trust. What it's not is all the external things that we think it is. So I talk about the false equation of confidence being, if X happens, then I'll feel confident. And X can be any fill in the blank you want. If I get the compliment, then I'll feel confident. If I win the competition, then I'll feel confident. If I get the promotion, then I'll feel confident. If I find the person of my dreams, if the scale says a certain amount, fill in the blanks, right? Of perfectly behaved children, it's then that I'll feel confident. And what we're doing is we're disconnecting from our trust and sort of playing like a weird game of Where's Waldo, as if someone or something out there outside of ourselves is running around with our confidence, and it's up to us to go find it. And the reality is there's nothing wrong with any of those things, and they may make you feel good. But if you think that your confidence is associated with them, you end up becoming addicted to the thing. And so you might get the compliment and feel confident, feel good in the moment. And then it's like, oh gosh, I need more compliments. And then you become a junkie to whatever X was, which is of course the opposite of confidence. So confidence is not necessarily feeling good, feeling attractive, getting the compliments. It's not out there. It's an internal choice that we get to make. And you said this is good news. I agree completely. It is good news that confidence is about trust, and that we can wake up show up however, and choose to trust ourselves in any given moment of any given day, just because we choose to.
Okay, so for the very person that is saying, I feel so unconfident, how do I build trust with myself? And what will it feel like, since I've never, like this person has never, ever been confident, what will it feel like when they are confident?
Yeah.
Like they may not even recognize the feeling. They're so unconfident.
Right. Well, so the how to, I would say, think about how you would build trust with someone else. How do you build trust with somebody? How do they build trust with you? That will give you some really clear insight into how you would build trust with yourself. So I'll give some kind of universal examples, but there are probably some that would be on your list that might not be on mine, or vice versa, because trust is a personal experience, right? And you build it how you build it.
Yeah.
So keeping commitments would be at the top of my list. Excuse me. So the commitments you make to others and the commitments you make to yourself. Part of that too is not overcommitting. Don't give your word to something if it's I'll do my best. Separate the difference between a goal and a commitment, or those types of things. But you want to keep the commitments you set for the most part. Not perfection. Nobody keeps 100% of their commitments 100% of the time. But we trust people more when they do what they say they're going to do. Simple. Creating and communicating healthy boundaries. That's a great way we build internal trust. Practicing self-care, doing things that nourish your body, mind, and spirit. Prioritizing yourself. You're going to build trust in yourself that way. I call the 3 Ps: plan, prepare, practice. Those are great ways to build internal trust. Stand up for yourself. Speak your truth. Be your own hype person. There are lots of ways we can do this. But I want to also remind anybody listening that it's a journey. Nobody arrives at confidence, plants a flag, and is like, whew, I'm done. I am confident from this point forward, right? Like that'd be lovely, but it doesn't work that way. Confidence will only ever always be a journey that we're constantly on. So to answer your question about how do we know when we feel it, it's really about, so I identified 5 confidence builders. And I think if you're doing these things, that's probably how you know. But again, it just goes back to, am I trusting myself? Am I listening to my inner voice? Am I following my instincts? Am I doing what really matters to me? Am I speaking my truth and saying how I authentically feel? Am I taking risks? Those are really good ways to check in with yourself, that you're coming from a place of confidence. So the confidence builders, I'll give them to you really quickly. Action builds confidence. You can't think, hope, wish, finger or toes cross your way into confidence. You act your way into confidence.
Right.
Little risks.
Action.
Always action. It's called action steps for a reason. The second confidence builder can be really surprising. Failure builds confidence. mistakes, fear, doubt, all those things. Because if we have confidence as feeling good, then we're missing the opportunity of real confidence, because it's easy to trust yourself when everything's going according to plan. It's easy to trust yourself when everything's working out and you know, you're checking all the boxes. Where true trust and our opportunity to demonstrate trust in ourselves typically happens are when we're feeling the doubts, when we're afraid, when we've made a mistake or failed at something. But what we know for sure is you can't find a confident person or a successful person who probably hasn't had more than their fair share of failures, mistakes, challenges to overcome. So failure actually builds confidence. Choosing confidence, understanding that confidence isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. It's something we can choose anytime we want. Giving ourselves grace on the journey, how we talk to ourselves, coming from a place of love and kindness when we communicate to ourselves about ourselves is a big game changer. This does not mean sunshine and rainbows all the time. We can definitely challenge ourselves. We can be our own truth tellers. We can say we're off track to ourselves. But if it's done in a mean, bully, you know, unkind way, that's not going to build confidence. It's in the loving, challenging voice that really matters. And then doing some of the things we talked about already. I don't want to go too long on this, but there's so many ways we can build internal trust. And I would say, instead of fake it till you make it, choose it till you become it. Do those things.
No, so true. Oh,
right?
so true.
The feeling of confidence will arrive, but you've got to choose the uncomfortable action before the feeling catches up, and then it will.
Yeah, you have to show up as the person that already has that thing. Like you have to show up. Like if there's something that you want in life, like a goal, a dream, you have to start showing up as the person that's here to do that thing. And that is just, I couldn't say that any more true than just doing the cover shoot I just did for Bodyscape magazine. I was far away from that, but I set it as a goal, and it got me back up from all of my injuries. And but it was just the saying it and then doing the action steps, like you said, and then like I just set it out into the universe, and then the opportunity appeared. Then I had to do massive work and action. And then it happened, and it came to fruition just the way that I envisioned. It's coming out next month on my birthday. And so my 60th birthday. And so I have to say that everything Nicole is saying today is true, because it built my confidence and trust with myself that I took the action steps to accomplish the dream that I had. And I just can't stress how important that is. But equally, right now, we're in the process of deciding between 3 photos, which is the cover. And this is all about embracing who you truly are, like embracing like my, you know, like the real me. And so like looking and saying, this is the vision I had. So my opinion might be different, you know, than the neighbor across the street might like the silver photo. The editor likes the pink. I like the gold. And so I finally realized this in essence is really like, I don't want to second guess myself. I said when I was in the water in the ocean, I felt like a goddess. And I wanted every woman to have that feeling where they own their confidence and they know who they truly are. And I remember telling the photographer, this, I feel like I just shot the cover.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold to embracing who you truly are. I think like owning every piece of yourself and not trying to be someone else or who we think you want us to be, right?
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, I think it's Oscar Wilde, that he says, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. And it's just that, loving, gentle reminder that there is only ever going to be one of you. You're the only you who's ever existed. You're the in history or will ever be in the future. There's no way that's an accident. So, I mean, what it took for you to get the cover and then firmly and boldly trusting yourself to know what is the best representation of you. These are all such great examples of true confidence, about what I talk about in the book and yeah, so phenomenal example.
And it was such a interesting conversation because I have all my women in my studio. So I'm like, I was sold that it was the gold, but then this, the editor is like, and so then I'm like, oh, yeah. But it was interesting because one gal's like, well, in the pink, you're so Denise Richards. And the silver, it's like the cover of Oxygen. And the gold, she's like, you own the room. And so like, it was just interesting. And then which one is the real you? That's the one you should choose, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could all be sides to your character, but I think like knowing who you are and in just embracing that, because don't you remember having someone walk in a room and everybody just their heads turn? But it isn't really because they were the most beautiful person in the room, the most good-looking person in the room.
Right.
It was because they were truly owning who they are and they had a presence about them.
Yeah. Confidence is infinitely more interesting and attractive to people than, so many other things. It's an experience. It's something you often can't put your finger on, but when somebody really trusts themselves, again, firmly and boldly, they're going to show up differently. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to communicate and make different choices. And again, it's a journey,
Mm-hmm.
but it's incredible to experience it yourself and to witness it in others.
Don't you automatically trust someone though that believes in themselves?
Of course.
Like
yeah.
Almost automatically. They know the way, they have the roadmap. Like it's that assuredness that they just know, like they have really owned every bit of themselves, good and bad, and they trust themselves. So you automatically trust them too.
Well, there's actually proof of this. People will follow the more confident leader, even over the more competent leader. So if you have two people and one is more competent, but the other is more confident, people will follow the more confident one. I actually write about, use an example in my book of if I got dropped into a, forest somewhere and had no idea how to get out, I could have a, ranger with all of the answers. But if he or she was like, I'm not really sure where we are, I don't know where to go. And then I have my best friend who has no business, getting us out anywhere. And they go, I know exactly where we are. I know exactly where to go. Who am I going to trust? Who am I going to follow? The person who trusts themselves. It is contagious. So you are right. And there is evidence to prove it.
I love this. This is so good. Identify the 5 biggest confidence derailers, the things that chip away at our confidence and do damage. Because I think sometimes you could be completely confident. You probably came into this world confident. But like, what are the 5 biggest derailers?
Yeah. So I fundamentally believe that we came into this world confident. I believe we came in trusting ourselves, connected to our inner knowing and all of that. I think society and all how we're raised and media, all the things over time do some damage and separate us from our trust in ourselves. I've identified what I consider the 5 biggest confidence derailers. These are the things that chip away at our confidence, especially for women. Now, these impact anyone of any gender, but these are the big leading ones for women. The first one you already mentioned, we know about this one, perfectionism. Perfectionism is the enemy of confidence. This is the idea that we need to do it all, have it all, be it all, and we need to look good while doing it. It's an unrealistic expectation that none of us can live up to. And so we always fall short. And that, of course, does damage to our confidence. And we spend a lot of time worried about how things look versus how they are.
Oh my gosh. That right there is a tweetable. That is so dead on.
Oh gosh. I mean, I've lived this one. That's probably one of the ones I default to far too easily. The second confidence derailer is what I call head trash. I've also heard it called the inner critic or negative thoughts. It's the voices inside our own minds that say things to ourselves about ourselves that are never kind and very rarely true. Things we would never actually to say to someone we love, yet somehow we allow ourselves to say it to ourselves. So head trash is a big
wow, head trash.
Derailer.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. I love that phrase.
Isn't that fun? Because it makes it sound like what it is. It's gross.
Yes.
It's disgusting. It needs to be thrown out.
Yes, that is so good. That might be the name of this podcast.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Overcome your head trash.
So head trash is the second one. Judgment and comparison is the third.
Oh, that's the worst.
Oh, God. And social media has made it so much easier to do. Like, within seconds, I can be comparing myself to someone else and going, why don't I look like that? Or why don't I vacation like that? Or why does this person seem further ahead? Or why do they have so many more followers? Whatever, right? Like, it's so easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves and then judging either ourselves or others. But it derails our confidence. Mm-hmm. Overthinking is the fourth confidence derailer.
Well, that means you don't trust yourself.
Exactly. And you're not getting into action. Overthinking leads to inaction. Yeah. Inaction leads to regret. And if you talk to really anybody about their biggest regrets in life or in business or to date, they'll mostly tell you about the things they didn't do, not the things they did. So overthinking is this idea that we need to be ready or become ready before we can get into action. And it's just doing major damage to our trust in ourselves.
Yeah. So ready is a lie, because you aren't ready before you become ready. Like, you have to just start doing, and then it's what makes you ready.
I agree completely. Like, this idea that we could become 100% ready to do something we've never done before is insane. The only way you become ready is by doing the thing. Because
you learn it as you're doing it even more. Like, it's just experience is just worth its weight in gold. And that, you have to take some mud and throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. And you have to take action. And for anyone out there just being stuck in your head, you could think like I did. Think about starting things for a year before you do it. And then you're like, why did I wait so long? And 100%. The sooner you act, the sooner you're going to get to your destination. So don't wait if you're really overthinking something today. You've got the tools to accomplish your dreams. It's more about pushing the button to get started.
100%. And you learn along the way. Again, if we're talking about confidence, we're talking about trust. Trust doesn't mean I know everything to expect or I'll have all the answers. Trust is I'll be okay if I don't. I will figure it out as I go. I'll learn the lessons along the way, and it'll get me closer where I want and need to be. That's to me what trust is. Trust isn't waiting till every box is checked and every answer and every perceivable outcome has been assessed. And you gotta get out there and get going.
And you have coached thousands of women, what would you say is the most surprising thing that you found?
The most surprising thing that I found is the women that I assumed were uber confident, had it all figured out. There's really not that much of a difference. 66% of women feel confident in one aspect of their life, but not in others. And so, you might look at somebody and go, they look perfect. They must be confident, or they have the ideal job or marriage or, fill in the blank. They must be confident. And the most surprising thing that I learned is we're all struggling with this, mostly because we don't even know what confidence is. We've been so disconnected
right. Don't
from
even
it.
know what it is.
Yeah. And we have it as perfection is confidence, being happy is confidence, and understanding that trust is confidence is such a big shift for so many of us, myself included. But it's fun to play with, and it's much easier than being perfect or checking all the boxes or having all the answers.
And when you are working with all of these women, what would you say help that you've done? Any tools that you've used that sped up that transition to being more confident?
Oh my gosh. So many tools, so many exercises, so many available options for us. Some really simple, like I think of whenever I have head trash and affirmations, mantras, things like that can be really helpful. But I sometimes just say to myself, gentle, gentle, gentle. That's a reminder. One word, a reminder to be gentle with myself in the same way I would anyone I love when I'm feeling fear or doubt or discouraged or all the stuff, right? So that's a simple one. And then I have step-by-step processes that can help us rethink about failure in a more productive or empowered way. Creating what I call a recovery plan. So when things don't go according to plan, or you're not feeling the motivation, or fear and doubt is at its highest point, having a list of things that remind you what's important, that motivate you, that give you energy that you can focus on doing instead, helps get us back into action faster. So I'll give the example of, like, we all have crappy days, right? We all have tough days where we're like, what am I doing? This is a sign. I'm a hack, whatever we make up, right? Rather than doing what my brain and body wants me to do in that moment, which is drink a glass, and by glass, I mean bottle of wine, curl up in the fetal position, binge watch TV, vent and cry. I go to my recovery plan, and I do things like read my vision and remind myself what's important. I Google quotes on tenacity until I feel like doing something tenacious. I read my feel good folder, which is a folder I keep anytime somebody shares with me an impact that I've had. I drag it into my desktop or print it out of my folder on my desk. So like if I'm feeling discouraged, I can read my feel good folder and remind myself that I do make an impact. My work does matter. I need to keep doing it. So it just helps me to choose more productive, healthier, more empowered options in the days where I feel like crap and it's really hard to want to do those things.
Oh, I love it. You reminded yourself of your why and your purpose and your vision. The feel good folder, we all need one right now.
It's the best.
I save like the DMs from the podcast because it's always after the worst, the episode that I am like feeling the most vulnerable, and I guess nakedly exposed because I'm just being raw, is always the one that I get the DMs. But I'm always having that vulnerability hangover.
Yeah.
The next day.
I can relate completely. A lot of times when we choose to trust ourselves, especially if we're not very practiced at it, it can create a whole host of doubts and noise and things
you get
scared,
mind. You know,
yeah,
and you're like, oh, but that's when I get the most direct messages. And that's when you realize you're making an impact. And then it builds trust with doing that more often, and makes you realize that it isn't the perfection that draws people to you, it's the realness.
Very well said. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This has been so good today. Where can everybody get your book? Tell them what it's called, and where they can get you on social media.
So the book is Validation is for Parking. And you can find it wherever you buy books, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, you know, all that fun stuff. Or go to my website, NicoleKalil.com. We will have direct links and some giveaways, some bonus options. I have like a 40+ page workbook that goes along with the book. So you can, you know, take the exercises and test them and apply them in your life. It does take a
little work to become confident. Yeah. We can't just fall there by accident.
Right. Yeah. So that'll be on the website. So that's probably the best place to go.
Now, for my own, this is my own question. You're going to speak on a stage to 10,000 people. You're nervous. You've never done it before. What is the process that you're going to go through to help be confident when you get out there, even though your knees are knocking?
Yeah. So it's actually so funny that you asked this. I just had this experience in June. I spoke at a conference. There were 12,000 participants, and that was the biggest stage I'd ever spoken on to date. And I always feel nervous when I speak because I care. Right? Whether it's 20 people or 12,000, I feel nervous, but the level of nervousness was like off the chart. And I just had to talk to myself, you know, again, like somebody that I love. And I had to focus on more productive or more empowered interpretation of the event. So I was like, yes, there's 12,000 people here. That's 12,000 people who are going to be connected to their confidence in a way they haven't been before. What an opportunity for impact. And I'm not going to reach all 12,000, but there is a good chunk of people that I will, and they're going to walk out of here trusting themselves more, doing some of these, like I had to focus on what mattered the most to me, which is the impact, the belief that the participants, who were mostly women, would be thinking about confidence in a completely different way than they had walking in the room. I had to, you know, say, you've done this hundreds of times, whether, you know, however many people are sitting out there, it's saying, this is your opportunity to trust yourself. Even if it doesn't go well, you'll either, you know, do great or you'll learn. Like, those are the only two options. It's like, I'm either going to crush it or I'm going to learn how to crush it the next time around. All the stuff, right? You just have to be really conscious of what you say to yourself. I'm guessing, Linda, when you do your work or compete, like what you say to yourself in those moments matter so much in how you show up.
It's 100%. And you have to, even if you're asking yourself a question, it needs to be in a positive way, because your brain, if you ask a negative question, your brain goes right to the negative. It could only answer it in this negative way. So like thinking, when have I been successful before? When did I nail my routine before? And things like thinking about how it's going to feel when you give your best performance. Like that just takes your brain in the positive, and the positive is more powerful.
Yeah.
It's more powerful when you take your mind into the positive light. And I would not be worth my salt today if I did not ask you, why is validation for parking?
So it's funny. I learned so much and applied so much of my confidence building techniques in writing this book. This is one of those things that I overthought for far too long and wanted to be ready before I got into action. And so anyways, I learned that when titling a book, the title should grab the reader's attention. And it's like, the title says, hey, you. And then the subtitle says, yes, I'm talking to you. So we wanted to go with something punchy. So validation was for parking. It was like a 4-hour, you should see the amount of titles we came up with. But our hope was that it would grab people's attention and send the message that validation feels great. It's icing on the confidence cake, but is not the cake itself. Validation is for other things. It's not for confidence.
Where should validation come from?
Inside.
Exactly.
Well, so confidence
related.
should come from inside. Validation feels good, and I love getting validated.
We like to get validated.
Next person.
But do you think that so if you give your power to somebody out there to validate you, that I think makes you more, it could go the other way, and it could it could make you powerless.
Yeah.
So I will be the validation girl. I think that validation, you have to learn how to find ways to validate yourself, because you could be seeking that validation from somebody out there that's never going to give it to you, or that won't, that just won't validate you no matter what you do, no matter what feat you accomplish. So I think it's just like confidence. They're very much interrelated.
So I'll give an example. I wrote this book and I trust that I put my whole self into it. I am so proud of what I did. I'm so proud of taking the risk before I was ready. I'm so proud of putting something out there that's not perfect and has never had any hope of being perfect. My confidence and my trust in myself was in the action that I took to put this thing that represents me out there. How people feel about it does not impact my trust in myself. It doesn't change any of what I just said.
Yeah.
Is it going to feel good if people tell me they love the book?
Of course.
And if they give 5 stars and if they, share how it impacted, of course, I will love every minute of that. But my confidence is not tied to their opinion, good, bad, or indifferent about my book. The validation will feel good. The confidence only ever lies within myself.
Right. And I love that. That's a good ending to a beautiful podcast. Like, I love that to end upon, because I think it just summed it all up right there in a nutshell. So I have really enjoyed listening to you talk about confidence. I love the whole way that you really brought new truths to light that we may not think about or realize, because we're so pressured as women in society to look a certain way, to work out, to eat our greens, to show up perfectly as a perfect mom, the perfect career woman, all these things. So I love that confidence is just about owning who you truly are. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Linda. Thank you so much for having me and for your great work.
Thanks. And thanks everybody for listening to this episode of the Sisterhood of Sweat. As always, keep on keeping on and let us know what resonated with you. Bye, everybody.